Hey everyone, it's Erin. Welcome back. Today I'm painting a holiday wreath, and I'm calling it a holiday wreath just because of its traditional red and green color scheme, but something like this could easily be used any time of the year. I'm using my Yarka professional watercolor pan set, and I will leave a link to that down below. I'm also using a new watercolor brush, and I absolutely love it. I'll leave the link to that one down in the description box too if you want to check that out. So I started just by watering down my green color, and you can barely see it on the video, but I just drew a circle with a really watered down green so I could kind of see where my wreath was going to go, but it's not taking over the painting. And then I'm going in and putting in my ranunculus where I want those to go. And I've decided I want my focal flowers to be at the bottom of the wreath. I'm not going to put any at the top of the wreath just because I want it to be more bottom heavy. And to paint a ranunculus, you start in the middle and you just add lots of stretched out C curve lines to create the petals. Because if you look at a ranunculus, they have tons of petals. They're not like roses where the petals get bigger as the flower goes out. Now I'm going to get started on painting the leaves of my wreath. When you get started painting your leaves, they all should face the same direction. That really helps keep the wreath consistent. I'm also staggering the leaves. There's no really rhyme or reason to how I'm placing them. I'm just not putting them totally next to each other, and I'm gonna go back later and fill in some gaps with some other types of leaves and little sprigs and stuff, so I'm not too worried about filling in the space. Right now I'm just laying the groundwork for the wreath, but I'm making sure that all of them are facing the same way. You can see I've only reloaded my paintbrush once, and that's because I like the variation in color. And also there's a slight variation in the size of the leaves. They're pretty consistent. The ones at the top, you can see there are a couple smaller ones. I'm not too worried about the leaves being lighter or darker. I'm, like I said, just laying the groundwork, and I'm going to go back in and add more later. Now down here, I want the wreath to look natural, like I don't want the leaves to point inward toward the ranunculus, so I've added a leaf coming out from the ranunculus, and then I went back in and added one that looks like it could be going either direction to help fill that space. Now when I mix my paint, I keep generally all of the greens in one part of my palette, the blues all in one palette, the reds and the yellows. I don't mix a completely new green, I just kind of go with what I've got going and add different variations depending on what kind of color I'm going for. So this one has the same base color as the leaves, I've just added that brighter shade of green. And I'm going in just to add a little bit of texture. And I'm adding texture where there are little gaps that need to be filled in. Just kind of making the judgment call as I go. So now I'm going in and I'm just adding some little sprigs that are going to have berries on the end. That might be why they look a little bit funny right now. They're like sticks with leaves on the sides. But they will have berries. That makes them feel a little more holiday-esque. Sometimes it takes me a minute to figure it out, and sometimes I put things down and I'm like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have put something there, but I usually just try to make it work. So now I'm going to go in and add in the berry color, which is a bright red. Some of the sprigs have 2, some just have 1, just depended on the space I was trying to fill in. Now after looking at this, I thought I was going to be done after the berries, but I've decided that I need a little bit more depth in my wreath. So I'm going back through again, and I'm going to add a little bit more. Again, just looking for little gaps. I'm not adding anything crazy, but I think adding this darker contrast really helps add some depth and makes the wreath more interesting to look at, especially up here where the leaves are a lot lighter. It definitely needs a little bit more contrast. See, that's one of those that I don't think I probably needed, but I'm gonna make it work because I've already put it down. And so I'm adding a couple more dark leaves just to kind of help fill in that extra space. Now, I don't sketch out my paintings typically before I start going, so if I put something down that I don't like, I just try to balance it out, like how I've added these extra leaves. I've now balanced it out so it doesn't feel so awkward down there by itself. Now that my ranunculus are totally dry, I'm adding in a little bit of depth with the same color, just going over the top, making the middle of the flowers look a little bit darker. Because ranunculus, if you look at them, they have a very dark center. I'm just adding a little dot of a dark blue while the paint is still wet. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I post a new calligraphy video every Monday and a new watercolor video every Wednesday. If you have a question or you want to request a video, be sure to leave a comment down below.